Welcome to Mark Stay's Creative Differences, a monthly live stream where I talk to writer friends about the little things that make a big difference to their craft and careers, in the hope that we can give readers some insight to the creative process and writers and other creative folk some practical advice that they can actually use. I'm Mark Stay. I'm an author, screenwriter, and podcaster, and if you're joining us live, feel free to ask questions in the comments and take part in the conversation. And a big thank you as always to Dominic Currie for his jingle. Here we go. This is oldie worldy one. On to my guest. My guest is the author of the Ringlander fantasy series, an epic trilogy and a prequel that draws you into the world of Rangas. And trust me, you won't want to leave. He's also the founder of the Author Interviews website, and he's about to launch an exciting new Kickstarter. It's only that Michael S. Jackson. Welcome, Michael.
Oh,
here, Michael, over here.
Hey.
There we go.
Second camera. Hey guys, how's it going?
Very good, sir. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm very well, very well.
Good. Look, let's kick things off. The Ringlander series. Now, I just remember seeing this cover online. Here we go. It's the first one for viewers who are joining us, and just thinking, I got to get into that. That art, I mean, the artwork alone is just fantastic. But tell us about the Ringlander series, where it came from, what it's about. So far, we've got two parts of a trilogy. There's a prequel novel. Tell us about Ringlander.
Sure. Well, it started off as fantasy. It ventured into epic fantasy, and then it very quickly sort of started taking a dark edge through it. And I found myself rubbing shoulders with the grimdarks of the world, and I really liked it. The moral grey, the intentions, like the altruistic intentions out the window. Like I sort of in love with that. And being an Abercrombie fan was like, I wore my influences on my sleeve, shall we say.
So it didn't start out as grimdark. Did you intend to go with like high fantasy, and then did it devolve, for want of a better word, into grimdarkness? Definitely devolved. But I just find myself allured by that side of things. I mean, as a fantasy is so good for just exploring the psyche in general. When you've got like a whole host, especially epic fantasy, when you've got a whole host of characters to kind of play with, it is just like sitting in our playroom is our sunroom. It's like sitting in our sunroom with lots of figurines, just kind of like playing God. Like, this one's going to do this one's going to do that. Now this one's killing that one, and so on. and it becomes kind of an exploration of my own psyche as well, I guess, as to the pieces I don't really kind of fully understand myself. So it's a great outlet for testing and seeing like where I am in the world and what I think about things, and doing it through the characters. It's a lot of fun. No, completely. That's when people say to me, "Why do you write?" It's because that's how I make sense of the world. Or try to, at least, you know. It's like a safe space where you can explore these things. So, and I generally, after a writing session, I'm a happier person until I turn on the news. So is that what it's like for you? You're nodding there.
Totally. I try not to turn the news on these days. In fact, basically since like 2018, basically since David Bowie died, the world's kind of gone hell in a handbasket. But then again, I wonder if my mum and dad used to say that, and then my granny and my grandpa used to say that, and my great granny and my grandpa used to say that. I think it might have something to do with the grey hairs creeping their way along my head.
Yeah, it's the human condition as well. It's the human condition. So I saw a quote from you recently in an interview where you said sequels need to be focused. I thought it was such an interesting thing to say. And so I'd like to know about the sequel, but also the lessons that you learned from the first book that you brought to the sequel.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's such a big topic. Where should we begin? I mean, we could start with the sequel being focused, or do you want to kind of begin with the lessons learned? Because I feel like they're two...
let's start with the lessons learned. Let's see what, having put together, the path and the way Ringlander, then second book, Fallen Shards, it's going into a second book is always, and I'm saying this because Emily here is joining us. You're working on the sequel for your book, aren't you? We were talking about this on the way up, weren't we? Sequels are hard.
Yeah, trying to.
Nice, nice. Good luck with that, Emily. That sounds awesome. Um, yeah, sequels are hard. But like I've been blessed. I've never really had writer's block. So I have the opposite problem, which is I have so many ideas that I don't know what to do with them. So book one as an exploration, first of all, into my first sort of fantasy book and first foray into writing. Um, it did include a lot of pieces, and it was a very different book in the first when I first started writing it. Um, and then I think taking a lot of those ideas, just to sort of generalize it a little bit without getting into too much detail, taking a lot of those ideas and stripping them down, but keeping a lot of the good stuff. Uh, I did that more and more going into book two. And going into book two, I knew straight away how I was going to begin it, what what sort of personalities were going to be the main threads that drove the plot through the book. Very character driven. So, and I didn't have to establish the world either. So, like when you're starting, you've got all this stuff to do. You've got this massive. How do you eat an elephant? Like one bite at a time. Second book, you're on to dessert. You're what is a lion, a giraffe, like something much smaller. You're kind of like you're very very focused, and I felt very very focused when I attacked book two, and I feel like it shows when you go from book one to book two. And I'm really interested to see how book three is going to pan out because I don't want it to go too fine a point because I think one of the fun parts of epic fantasy is just how sprawling it is and you have to actually there's things that you've said, Mark, that have really stuck with me about being a gardener and just kind of like or a pantser, sorry, and just kind of you know giving your future self the gift of just exploring the narrative and seeing where it goes and it's good to have like I think a main thread that tears you through things, and that's what book two's got. But I think sometimes you need to just let it flow and sort of ebb and see where it takes you as well, because that's part of the joy of finding out what happens, I think.
Yeah, 100%. It's I mean, I'm about 15,000 words from the end of a first draft of a thing, and I'm only now just sort of making sense of it. And I have been, I sort of know how it ends, but I've been pantsing it, and I'm looking forward to the rewrites because I'm thinking now I can knock it into shape rather than twist something into a shape. It's become its own thing, and now I can start smoothing the edges off. So I don't know if that's what it's like for you.
Oh, it sounds very similar. I think leaving gifts for my future self is a great way of sort of saying like basically I'm going to give myself a scaffold to work to, but how is this going to turn out? Well, I want to be surprised by this, and I want that unpredictability to shine through the writing. And I've been told that it's quite clear that I enjoy what I do, like through the writing, which is a really nice compliment to get. I think it's like
Yeah,
that basically means
yeah,
that it's fun. It feels for people that love world building and people that love like character driven plots, and that's where I live.
Well, let's talk about that world building, that balance between world building and storytelling, because the temptation, particularly with fantasy, perhaps more than any other genre, is just to wallow in the world building for as long as possible and never actually write any bloody words of the story. So, how did you? Because this is an incredible world. I mean, I'm going to pop up one of the maps, that we'll talk about for the Kickstarter later on, and there's maps here that I got with the author's edition of the book that you sent. It's a very, very well realised world. Did it evolve with the writing, or did it create it beforehand? How did that all work for you?
Well, actually, Brandon Sanderson's got these lectures, and I think probably every fantasy writer out there has probably listened to them at some point. And he said something in one of the lectures, just in my formative developing years of writing, about how he misunderstood the distance that a boat could travel. And then, and he was like, basically, kind of like, well, they would never get from there to there in that amount of time, and it was a massive hole, and it created lots of problems literally downstream. So, I started off with the idea of just kind of sketching out. Look, I've probably got them. I should have thought about this. sketching it all out, and it started off with the teacup I put down when I was at my job, one of my past jobs, and it left this like literal ring. And I love the idea of a ring-shaped continent. And
So this is a coffee stain, essentially.
literally, so that is how it began life. And
it's like a Rorschach test, isn't it?
It's like it just kind of like built out into this massive thing, and I just love the idea so much of because our world is very much based on this idea that we're all sort of siloed in our little continents, and some are bigger than others. But there's like the sea there, there's a sea there, sea there, sea there. But if you had like a ringland continent where the land was connected, then you would have first of all you'd have the middle sea. So I called it the Middle Sea. Very clever. And then all of this stuff round the back, which we'll gloss over for most of the series, but we'll come back to later. And yeah, I think that boat journey thing started off me thinking about how it affects the plot. I realized a love for just map making and generally just thinking about this kind of stuff. I did stop myself, like when I realized that it was beginning to intrude on the ability to write the story. I would stop myself and kind of pragmatically try and drag myself back. And I seemed to be able to do that enough that I got to the end of a draft. And then I just kind of doing what you're about to do. You just kind of went through it, and it started kind of taking shape.
That's the world that they inhabit. What about the magic system? Because that's another thing that we have to work with in fantasy fiction. How much of that did you have worked out beforehand?
Well, that's another of Brandon Sanderson's laws, I guess. It's like that it's not what a magic system can do that makes it interesting, but rather what it can't do. And because you've got basically omnipotence at your disposal. Like, why didn't Gandalf just like immediately kill everyone with all of his crazy powers? So understanding the limitations of that meant that kind of going in, I had to have an idea of what it wasn't capable of, so you wouldn't have those problems. And I took down some notes and took down some bits, but then I kind of wanted to link it. It had to be linked to that main character and everything that she goes through. Otherwise, what's the whole point in it? Everything has to have a purpose in the book. You can't just arbitrarily have a magic system. Well, for me personally, in my beliefs, that just doesn't affect the plot or doesn't like somehow tie in with everything that's happening. So I kind of tried to keep it fairly well grounded in this idea of Mother Nature and very much an intrinsic part of the world. And then that very easily led me on to the inclusion of like gods and mythology and lore that entered the fray as well. So the world just got the world got bigger, then the story got bigger, and yeah, I'm really excited to see where it goes actually.
Yeah, but it seems like it's kind of developed along with the story. It's evolved with the story itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Excellent. Okay, yeah. And magic systems, I mean, the end of magic came about because I remember picking up, because I used to work for Brandon's publisher, picking up one of his books and looking at the back, and he's got these appendices, which like, if you add this element to this element, I'm like, these are like the rules to, do I have to learn this? How important is this? I thought, I'm going to write fantasy without a magic system. I'm going to take magic away. And what I managed to do was, first of all, you have to create a magic system, then take it away, and then figure out the consequences of that. So I actually made myself 3 times the work. So that's how clever I am.
Such a cool
Michael, one thing I've noticed you're absolutely brilliant at, and it's one of the reasons, I got my special edition of I just love touching the cover of The Path and the Way, Ringlander. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. One thing you're very good at is your marketing and your selling direct and special editions and stuff like that. So your books are on Kindle. They're if you want to download the ebook, it's fine there. But how important is the book as an object to you, and being able to provide something that's a quality item?
It just stems from being a total snob. I've worked in product like my whole life. I'm a designer, but like in my day job, I'm a snob. I just love things that are well made and well put together, and I love watching. Like my Instagram is so eclectic because it's just literally just like all the things these people like great plumbers of the world and great electricians of the world, and people who make amazing wallets and things like that. I'm just fascinated by people who do stuff really well, and in that same vein, when I was kind of wanting to write a book, I'm thinking, well, I can't do anything by halves. I need to go as far as I can take this. A lot of that comes down to the artwork. I think getting a quality book and holding a quality book, like the weight of it and everything like that, that comes from, I think, the words on the page, the paper thickness and things. And that's really important to the tactile sort of experience of reading for me. I'm not a huge digital fan. I love audiobooks, but I really like holding a real book. Um, but yeah, I think the artwork is like one of those really key things that makes it good.
Completely. And the artwork, let's credit the cover illustration by John Anthony Di Giovanni. Where did you find John Anthony? Where did you come across his work?
Well, it's a cool story actually. So I've worked with designers before, I've worked with artists before, but it really is just start with an email. And if you're able to communicate visually your scene, which is how I write anyway, this happens. I mean, it's very similar to what you've probably done for scripting and stuff. Like you're kind of like visualizing the main beats.
Yeah.
You've got some ideas what the dialogue's doing. So I got in touch with a guy called Col Price, who's turned out he's the artist on the new Alien series on Disney Plus. What's that called again?
Oh, really? Alien Earth.
Yeah.
Wow.
And tons of movies and stuff. That's why he couldn't do Ringland. That's what I tell people anyway. Because I got in touch with him in 2020, and he had this uber secret project that he was doing, and he wasn't able to take it, but he wasn't able to tell me why either. And he was just a loveliest guy, and I loved his art style. And but I had a list, and I was going down my favorite artists. One of them was the art director for Bungie, like Halo, and I thought I'm just going to ask him. You know what? Like, you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly. Yes.
He came in at like sort of. He was very, very expensive, and just sort of. Yeah, maybe I'll leave that one. But John Anthony was like number 2 on the list, and we just got on like a house on fire. We loved the same music. We had a video chat. He loved the premise of what I was offering, and he was like, "Yeah, count me in." And we started working together, and yeah, it just kind of went that way. And he sent me comps, and I told him what I liked and what I disliked. I think I chose about from 5. And there was 3 or 4 of them that were quite similar, like walking in the wilderness with the animal companion. And I was just like, I feel like I've seen this before. It's not original. I've got to put my marketing hat on as much as it makes me want to take a shower afterwards. But and I picked the one that was the most dynamic. And then he just did something else with it that just changed it to the cover that you were showing there. And that was just like, that was my release. So I basically put that out myself. Like this is the indie version of my debut, but the Ringlander Path in the Way is my debut. Fallen Shards came next, and John came back for that cover as well. And I've got him, he's agreed to do book 3 as well. So
brilliant. I love how the characters, they're kind of just turning, it's like you've just caught them in the middle of the action. It's so dynamic. It's really, really cool. Really, really cool. So, I mean, you said, this is as far as it can, I'm going to take it as far as I can go. But the books are gorgeous. You've got these lovely author editions, but now you're launching and publishing even more gorgeous editions. So do tell us about these. Let me bring this up. There's the Tome edition.
The Tome edition, yeah. So it started off actually with a conversation with one of the guys at the Broken Binding, a guy called Sean Preen, and he's the loveliest guy ever. And he sort of mentioned, I approached them and was just like, guys, do you want to do a special edition of Ringlander? And they had lots on, and it was a thanks, but let's maybe look at this later on, sort of thing. But have you thought about a Kickstarter? And I was like, oh, I was a bit gutted. So I was like, oh, well, yeah. And then just like that evening, things sort of carries on manifesting. The seed was planted, and that must have been like August last year. I started looking for an artist in September, October. I got knocked back about 5 or 6 times from various people. But I landed on Ricky Ho, and he is just so good. I was so happy to get him involved with it. Like, yeah, this is Ricky's stuff. He's just out of this world. And yeah, like I say, the artwork is just key for like special editions and things. So having him on board was just like absolutely fantastic. I was so happy to have someone of his standard. He worked on The Last of Us, which is basically one of my favorite franchises in the whole world.
Wow.
So
the game.
Yeah, the game. Yeah. So I was over the moon. But he's also like the coolest guy ever. He lives in LA. He's from Vietnam, and yeah, cool guy. And we got on really well. And yeah, we just went and did it. Commissioned him for 2 pieces, and this is the result. Is the Tome edition.
Yeah, so let's for listeners who can't see this, but I'll put you're going to find links in the show notes to the Kickstarter. There's a little QR code in the top of the screen there if you're watching this on YouTube in the recording, or if you're watching it now. So we've got a lovely slipcase. We've got, is that gold edges? We've got a ribbon there. I mean, did you have like a shopping list of all the goodies that you wanted?
Yeah. I mean, I was calling it the Tome. Like it wasn't supposed to be called the Tome edition. I was just calling it the Tome because that's what it felt like. And I had this idea, this aesthetic in my head of just like something you would find in a cave in Skyrim. That's what I was just like, and it was like full of magical stuff and power, and that for me, that's what stories is all about. Is like that sort of, and it sounds so cliche, but it really is. That's what it feels like to me. So. Yeah, I started a publishing company to get the book out there and to get exposure essentially. And the whole point of the Kickstarter was to push my name out further. I think doing it myself as an indie author, I'd met quite a lot of walls I met so many cool people, I think, but I just couldn't get past. There was a place that I just couldn't get past. Like my just wouldn't go past it. And it necessitated just kind of thinking about things a little differently. So it's really nice to hear you say that you think I'm good at marketing, because I think I
Well, it's a different it's a different mindset, isn't it? You've kind of, it's by its nature it's reductive. And when you blood, sweat, and tears are putting these things together, and you've got to summarize the whole thing in just a soundbite, it is really, really hard. But I see your stuff, and the thing you sell direct as well. You like I say, books are available on Kindle or whatever. But if you want, it feels like I got this just because I thought I know I can't get this in the high street. I know I can't get this on Amazon. I want it, the precious, that kind of thing. That sort of thing is important. And you were talking about wallets and handbags and things like that. I remember when I was doing the crowdfunder for the End of Magic, and one of my top people who supported me, she was telling me, she will buy shoes, she will buy handbags and things like that she knows you won't find anywhere else. And I think that thing, even when all a bit strapped for cash these days, even then, I think people are still looking for something in this age of AI and slop and everything that has that craftsperson's touch to it, that unique touch to it.
Yeah.
That is really, really. We've got some lovely comments and a question. Can you put up some of the comments for us? Because we've had some just people. So Ragnar here saying, agree, the artwork draws one in to pick it up, and how it's made keeps it in one's hands to keep on reading. That's what it's about. Nothing feels better than finding a well-made book that is captivating to read. 100% agree, Ragnar. Thank you for that comment. Any other comments there? And Elwood Flynn. More about him later. Elwood says, they are amazing, giving me some ideas for a future omnibus. Excellent. Okay, well, maybe we'll talk about that next month, Elwood. Ragnar asks, what is the cost range to get an artist cover? Oh, crikey. Are you willing to share numbers? Yeah,
totally. It's scary as hell. Like, it's really scary.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's doing it yourself is. I'm very fortunate that I've got a day job that fuels everything that I do. So I'm a UX designer, so I kind of make websites and apps and stuff, and I absolutely love it. The cost part of it, when it comes to the writing, is basically you have to. For me, anyway, when I'm doing it from the indie perspective, is you absorb everything. You have to pay for everything up front. You can get a lot of it back if you do special editions and signed editions and things, but for a sort of ballpark figure, working with an artist, you're looking, depends on like the type of artist, how good they are, like have they done other stuff. For me, generally, you're kind of dealing with a human person artist, which you always should, somewhere between 500 and maybe £3,000 for a cover piece, like a front cover piece. And then that was like when I started. So you're kind of like, that was 2021-ish, 2020. Now, being the world as it is, you can expect 20-30% on top of that without blinking. And then that's before you kind of take into account other costs like printing and like typesetting, all sorts of things. It can get expensive. So I'm far from
Ragnar, if you're listening to this, and any listeners, and you're having mild palpitations at the thought of that, I mean, there are alternatives. Things like Get Covers, which is a Ukrainian cover designer outfit. They can do them really cheap, from about $10. They're not AI. It's not AI slot, but what they're doing essentially is using stuff from libraries to compile an image that is suitable for your book, and they're very good for fantasy, I found. But what you might find is that your hero with the sword, as that's on the cover of your book, might be on 5 other books, so there isn't that uniqueness there that you might have. But yeah, I mean, certainly when I was at Orion, there were the top artists there. You could be looking at between sort of $1,500 to $3,000. That was 10 years ago. It's I know that's like Philip C. Quaintrell, the fantasy author. I think he uses Brandon's cover artist who does his US covers.
He's great.
And I know how much they cost. Those are cheap.
It's like 20,000 pounds.
Oh, I don't think it's that much. Don't think it's that much. But it's yeah. Rachel Chapman says I best start learning to draw.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of the curse of fantasy fiction, which is certainly in the UK, we tend to go from more design-led, icons, silhouettes, that kind of thing. But in the American market, they love a character on the front. They love something that feels hand-painted almost, even though probably using digital art techniques. But it's,
Now that you say that, I'm actually doing. I've got I'm working with Jack Shepherd again for the commercial cover of the trade edition that's going to hit the shops, hopefully, of Ringlander. So this Kickstarter is essentially the crowdsourcing, the crowdfunding part of this journey, which is a very unique book. But the plan after that is to create a version which is going to hit the shops, and it's going to be more like that. It's going to be more like that sort of, dare I say it, literary sort of style, where it's more about symbolism and stuff rather than like a massive matte painting kind of spread over 6 months worth of effort. And
so tell us a bit more about the Kickstarter. When does it start? When's it due to end? It's Ringlander, The Path and the Way Tome Edition, TOME edition. Like I say, you'll find a link in the show notes. There's a QR code up there. But what dates are we looking at for this, Michael?
So 26th of May, so the next Tuesday.
Oh,
Saying it is terrifying. It's run for 30 days as a campaign. I'll have a couple of days of early birds, so 48 hours of early bird offers. But the hope is that it does well enough that it gets funded, and I can. I've got the Broken Binding fulfilling it, and I'm working with Black Crow PR to push it out there. And I'm just so lucky. They're just everyone's just absolutely magic to work for, and it's really exciting. Apart from the amount of work that I've taken on, it's just like it's hugely stressful. But I should have hired someone really to do some of it. But it's been a journey. I've enjoyed it a lot, and I've learned a lot of lessons from it as well as like what not to do, where to spend the effort, things like that. But yeah, next Tuesday, May 26th, go live.
Brilliant. And speaking of a trilogy, are you working on book 3 at all? Is that in between everything else you got going on?
Yeah, so I just figured out the end about 2 weeks ago. So it started, and I knew where it was going. But this conversation about kind of leaving gifts for yourself, of all places, I was in the bathroom, and I was surfing Reddit, and I saw a post that just triggered something. And I had this idea, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And my wife was just like, What's the matter? Are you okay?" I was like, No, it's fine. I'll tell you in a second." And so yeah, I came out and we spoke a little bit, and I sort of bouncing ideas off someone was so cool. You just kind of like, and then I could do this, and then I could, and all they hear is just some half-finished formed sentences. Your brain's running 100 miles an hour. So I ran into my office and spent sort of the next hour etching, sketching notes, and drawing big arrows all around. I use Miro a lot actually for sort of free thinking connections and stuff. I used it for heavily through book 1 and 2, and I'm using it for book 3. So yeah,
that's an app? Yeah, that's an app that you use for.
Yeah, it's like a Kanban board. It's like a digital whiteboard essentially. It's like a whiteboard, but without kind of taking up your entire office.
Right. Yeah. It's quite handy because my wife has stolen my whiteboard, so she uses it. She uses it to plan her work month. So, so I might check that out. Right. Let's just put you backstage for a minute, Michael, because we're going to have a little bit of a commercial break, because I want to tell you folks about the Green Room. So twice a month, I run live sessions on Zoom where you can ask me questions about the craft of your writing, your work in progress, the business of publishing. The sessions are fun, informal, chatty. You can send me questions in advance. They're recorded live and saved on Ko-fi for exclusive access to Green Room supporters. Use a QR code up there now. There's a link in the show notes there, scrolling across the bottom as well. So yeah, come and join us on Ko-fi. It's £20 a month. There's no long-term commitment. You can support for just a month for as long as you like. All I'm saying is we've been going now for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and we've got some authors actually getting out there, getting their books published. It's a fantastic group of authors, really lovely bunch of people. My goal is to be able to give you guys advice that will make a real difference to your writing and career, because the way I see it, having worked in this industry as a salesperson, bookseller, author for over 30 years, I've made every mistake, so you don't have to. So pop along to Ko-fi and check that out. And I got books, and you can buy them from all good bookstores if you want. Or if you want signed and dedicated copies, come straight to my store at witchesofwoodville.com. Again, there's a QR code there and a link in the show notes for you as well. And the End of Magic trilogy is now complete as well. So that's absolutely, I'm so happy with that. That artwork by Alejandro Colucci. Really, really delighted with that. And Witches of Woodville artwork by Harry Goldhart. I've been very, very lucky with my artists there. Right. Back to the show and our regular questions for our special guest, Michael S.
Beautiful books,
Jackson.
Mark. Beautiful books.
Thank you. Yeah, I get this. You know, I go to Comic Cons and it's the covers that draw them in. It's so important to get that right. It is. You know, it does sound expensive, £1,000 for a cover, but it pays for itself. It does pay for itself. There's no question about that. Yeah, especially with fantasy. So
fantasy fans are magpies. They're just like. And I know, but I am one. It's like you see it from across the way. Like the crowd's part, and this book with a single light shining down on it like a side quest. I am drawn to the book. I'm going to read that book.
Well, that's what I was like with these. That's what I was like with these. You know, I saw those covers, and I've got to have them. I've got to have them. So, anyway, on to our regular questions. What small thing has made a big difference to your creative process?
So I did. He sent me these, and I think I'm going to come back to Miro. I think the ability to capture a thought, and this is probably going to answer two of your questions, so I do apologize.
No way.
The ability to capture that thought at 3 a.m., the ability to immediately kind of go, wait a second, and then run away and create a digital sticky note. That for me is my favorite tool. It has been completely indispensable. I almost got rid of it for another tool recently, because I pay for it. And then actually I just thought, I can't bring myself to not have it because I know it so well, and it's just full of such cool ideas that I think we'll just keep it. So yeah, a big digital whiteboard.
And it's called Miro.
Miro, Miro. You get a free version as well.
Okay, cool. We'll put a link in the show notes to that, folks, if you want to check that out. What's the thing that makes you think that you're ready to start writing on a project?
Oh, just the gremlins in the head. It's like can't think of anything else. I get really obsessive about things. So when I have that idea, something needs to happen with it. It needs to be either explored and dispensed or explored and done something with. So that, I think, yeah.
It's like scratching an itch.
Yeah. I mean, it's something needs to start, something needs to happen now. Yeah, the gremlins.
The gremlins. Mike Way, how do you know when you're done?
Oh, that's a really difficult question to answer. I've thought I've been done like so many times, and I haven't been. So even when it was live and it was published, no, there was still some stuff that needed done. So I'm constantly requantifying what actually done means these days. I don't know, actually. From author interviews, so I get to speak to a lot of people, a lot of authors, yourself included, Mark. You were the very first.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was great.
And the day my life changed. Remember we met each other at the Worldcon in Dublin?
Yeah. That was terrific. Yeah,
that was brilliant.
That was a good gig.
I was just standing in a queue, and I was just like, because you'd been on author interviews at that point. You'd been running for a couple of years. And I was just sort of like, when my eyes settled, I was like, that guy looks like Mark Stay. I wonder if I can tell him. You look like Mark Stay. And then I started talking.
I get that a lot.
And then Gemma Redfern came over, didn't she? And started talking
Gillian.
Yeah.
Like,
who is that? And you were like, oh, that's the editor of Daleks. And I was like, yeah, I won't forget that. Yeah. So what was the question?
How do you know you're done? And what was interesting was that you sort of felt that once it's published, there were things that you wanted to go back and change. What were those things?
Oh, well, it opens the door to being an indie author and the fact that you can do that in the first place. But I being a purist, I don't want to change it at all, really. But stuff from like a sympathy read that potentially might change something in the book. Recently, there was a couple of tweaks, and for the tome edition specifically, that was suggested to me from a sympathy read. And I've got, being an indie author, I've got the power to do that. So, I mean, is that something like, how difficult would that be for you, Mark? Like from the traditional sense, if you were, how many layers of stuff would you have to go through?
Well, it's very problematic if you're a traditional author. I think traditional publishing has so many more hurdles you have to jump over before you get to that point. So, I mean, if you're an indie author, you'll pay an editor. I mean, I saw on the front of your book, you've got a whole bunch of beta readers there, plus your editor. I don't know if you get yourself a copy editor and a proofreader as well. A lot of indie authors don't because of the expense. I do. But that's because I've been through the traditional thing, and each one of those editors will catch something different.
Totally.
And each one of those editors will say to you, yeah, you might want to rethink this, So
Yeah.
I've I mean, it's funny, when I did The End of Dragons, the sequel to The End of Magic, it had been 5 years between the books, and I thought I need to go back and read End of Magic, and I was really happy with the state of it. Changed very few, some tiny things, really tiny things. I can't even remember what they were. Maybe just spelling mistakes or just some line edits or what have you. But very few changes whatsoever. So I'm very much of a if I've made mistakes, they're set in stone. I'm not George Lucasing this. I'm going to leave it there as a testament of who I was when I wrote that. And but yeah, I appreciate. I mean, we've seen famous authors have done, authors preferred editions. We've had different versions of The Stand, for example, from Stephen King. So, I think there comes a point where people want to go back and do it again. But frankly, I've got enough going on as it is.
Yeah.
So I just want to keep moving forward. But I understand the thing of being an indie author, you do have that option. But I've not really taken advantage of it yet.
Neither had I, actually, just until this very recently, in the past couple of months. And it's not a big change, really. It's just a little change. But there was a fantastic one. You're talking about beta readers. I mean, I get proofreaders and a couple of editors as well. And like you say, it's like a wide net, a medium net, a finer net, a finer net to like coffee filter, and you're still catching stuff. But when I was writing book 2, I wrote the main character, who's an 11 or 12-year-old girl, and I'm not a 12-year-old girl. So these are things that
I had noticed.
Yeah. So these are things that you learn by going through the process. And the beta readers all stumbled on a very particular sort of personality trait and a few scenes as well. But it was brilliant because everyone was saying pleasant things. Oh, this is great, but I'm beginning to not trust them because no one said anything bad yet. And then they all hit their part, and it was just like they tore it to pieces. And having 6 people all tell you're like, by the third person, you're like, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to that.
I changed it. So for draft 3 and 4 was vastly different, but I remember sending that back out to them, and it was. I got some pleasant remarks back, but
yeah, fantastic. We've done the 3 in the morning one. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made in your writing career?
So I saw this one. I didn't know how. I mulled it over while I was making the kids dinner, and I still don't really have an answer. The only thing that came to mind was being on Facebook, because they've just literally canned my account because they said that I was impersonating someone. I can only assume that it's if you take the S away from my name, and bear with me, bear with me, right? Bear with me. If you take I can do it with my finger. Oh no, it's over the top, damn. But my name is actually Michael Jackson, and I think they saw an issue with that because we're quite similar in appearance, also. That sort of very similar facial structure. I'm 6'4". He's a little bit smaller than that now. But anyway, Facebook decided to they wouldn't take any appeals, they wouldn't take anything, and after a year they shut my account. 400 people that followed me just overnight were.
But this is why we have to carve out our own corner of the internet. I mean, you've got your you've got your brilliant website, you've got a newsletter. I got a newsletter from you yesterday reminding me about this. Thank you. So that stuff is so important because social media is so. I can't run ads on Facebook anymore. For some reason, they shut down my capability to run ads. I have a theory why, and I can't really share it on here. It has. Do you remember a few years ago? I might actually. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it after the show. Or if you see me in person, ask me in person. But yeah, so you've got to have your own corner of the internet that no one else can take away from you because they are so flaky and becoming more so with each passing day. So
totally.
yeah. Well, it was like, say it. I tell you what, I might at the end if we stop recording. No, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. No, I can't do it.
You built it up so much now. I need to.
I know. Let me just say, it involves the Prime Minister. That's all I'm going to say, and there's no joke. That is no joke. Right. What's the best happy accident of your writing career?
Happy accident. Probably buying the final book in the Wheel of Time series. So,
which Brandon wrote. Brandon wrote that, didn't he?
Yeah. That was my first. No, it wasn't. It was my second experience of Brandon. But I'd loved Robert Jordan's stuff. He waffled a bit sometimes, but it's taken me 5-6 years to get through the Wheel of Time. And at the time, I was a games tester. I was working playing games for a living, and someone basically said to me, "You should read this book," and I started reading it. And I long left that job behind. Long left 2 jobs behind me, and I got to that final book. But it was I think I've written about it a couple of times. I've mentioned it in other interviews, but it was a really poignant moment because I was standing on the train station in Leeds after watching my wife be on trial for a job, not for a criminal trial.
Oh God! So this got dark.
I know. It's been dark. That's weird. But she's a violinist, and I'd been down to see her. This is pre-children, if you can even remember such a time. And I was standing with this proper tome, book 14, on the platform. And I'd read some of it already, and for some reason, this thought just occurred to me, which was this completely unraveling reality thought that this was just a creative endeavor, this book. And I think it was maybe because Robert had died and passed all the information to Brandon, and Brandon had taken it on and done an excellent job. And I remember the very start of it vividly, where the guy, one of the characters, picks up a coin and then he presses it into a ball, and it doesn't explain why this happens, but then it goes on to basically, this is the end of the world that's happening through all of these stolen moments. And the fact that a metal coin could become suddenly malleable is an indication that the physics is breaking down. Something awful is happening to the very the threads of reality, hence the Wheel of Time and the idea of the threads and that keeps everything together. But yeah, long story short, it literally kind of inspired me to, well, if someone could make this, then I could do something. And it started me on the path, I think. So it was a nice, happy accident.
Brilliant. I love it. Folks, if you've got questions for Michael, get them in the comments boxes now, and we'll get them read out, and we'll get some questions to Michael. My final of my regular questions. Is there a character or a story swirling around in your mind that you want to write, but you're not ready to write quite yet?
Yes, definitely. Something more science fiction related, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, I brought science fiction elements into the Ringlander world, because I wanted to link sort of theology with science a bit more, and I love stories that do that. I just love it, like Interstellar, absolute beautiful marriage of science and human emotion and all that sort of stuff. So, I love the idea of doing something of along what Andy Weir might write, or something like that Chris Nolan might do. I think my heart's in that stuff. I absolutely love that stuff. Like competency porn, someone told me the other day, where just such a great way of describing it. But yeah, something.
I've called it smart people solving impossible problems. That's my more clunky way of describing it. Starting with something like Apollo 13, and I love those that genre, if you like, because I know I probably could never write it, because I'm not that clever and I don't have that scientific mind that someone like Weir has. So I can really relax and enjoy that, knowing that I'll never have to write it.
I think I want to write something like that. But again, like you say, it's a technical undertaking. Like, I mean, if anyone's ever read Project Hail Mary, I've not seen the movie yet, so don't spoil it. Otherwise, I know what happens.
Oh, you are in for a treat. You are really in for
Really,
a treat. Yeah, it's such good fun.
I would want to see it in the cinema, but I've got 3 young children, and I just do not get the chance to go to the cinema or do anything actually for myself. So, yeah, it's. I mean that in jest. I do occasionally do something.
No, if it's any consolation, because of you, Emily, and your brother, we didn't get to see the Fellowship of the Ring for like 25 years in the cinema. You know, so
I'm sorry.
God, kids, eh? God.
Procreation, eh?
Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions, Emily, from the lovely people joining us live? Okay, a question from Rachel Chapman. Welcome, Rachel. How do you stop yourself from getting overwhelmed with the world building? When do you know when to stop? That's a good question. Does it ever stop?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll sort of answer it in the frame of the magic system, because I think it's good to have a magic system, but then to not use most of it. So it's almost like it's great for you as the author and the narrator to understand what the possibilities are and are not, but leave it out. You know, let the magic permeate through the reader's mind. Like, let them enjoy it. And it's the same with world building. I think when you hit upon religion and stuff, and you find yourself like take down some like things like, for example, I wanted to flip the gender norms in Ringlander. So rather than God being this like old white man, God is essentially Mother Nature herself, and Mother Nature as a mother. And this theme of mother and duality is something that I find close to my heart. And but when I was coming up with the idea of the religions around how these people sort of deify Mother Nature, or BAV as I call it, then I find myself falling down rabbit holes, and it's very easy to get lost. But it's good to have this stuff. I mean, it's really interesting, but you don't need it all for the draft. And when you find yourself kind of infotainment, when you have this exposition where a character just kind of like starts talking to another character, that sounds like the old, and then they go into this massive spiel about how religions worked, and you can get away with that to an extent, I think. But then it's very clear what you're doing, and it's that's when it's probably too much. But you gotta have fun with it as well. I mean, world building is so much fun.
Yeah. I've got a zealot in the End of Magic, the first book, who, you know, it does the exposition, but in a way that is really fun because they're just so annoying and everyone wants to punch them.
Nice.
So yeah, but again, it's I mean, to answer Rachel's question, is I sort of steal a bit from Ian Rankin, and he gave me this tip when I interviewed him on the bestseller experiment, which is he waits till the end of the first draft before he does any research. So he obviously he's talking about crime there, and he knows that if he's got a crime where there needs to be a post-mortem, then he just does the research on that bit of the post-mortem rather than read every book on post-mortems ever written, you know. So I get to the end of a draft and I think, okay, sometimes I'll just stick a pin in something and I think I've got to figure that out, and I've got to figure that out. But it doesn't slow me down, and it means I can actually kind of, you know, just focus on that and make that feel like it's part of a greater whole. So it's but again, I still can't resist it. If I'm disciplined, that's what I do. But in the thing I'm doing now, and it's set in the real world, but it's got, you know, ghosts and supernatural and stuff like that, I'm still figuring out the rules. Even as, like I said, I'm about 15,000 words from the end. But I'm thinking I can go back and fix all that stuff afterwards. And once you've smoothed over the edges, it should hopefully look like it was all done on purpose.
That reminds me of a quote from John Lasseter when he, you know, from Pixar.
Yeah, Pixar. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, so write the story once, or you won't. It was like you won't know the story until you've written it once, basically. And you have to rewrite it to find out what the story's actually about. And it's like that.
100%.
Like, if you're still figuring stuff out when you get to the end, you realize that actually this could have an impact on the plot and help drive it and push it into an interesting place, and therefore change the end. So, that stuff's really exciting. That's one of the reasons why I do it. Anyway, I think it's so much fun figuring that stuff out.
Yeah, yeah, completely. The first draft is really me getting to know the characters, and then I can go back and shape the plot. Have them drive the plot. So, yeah, great question, Rachel. Thank you very much. Any more questions, Em? Ragnar. Oh, it's one for me. Is the green room suitable for new writers? Oh, it totally is, Ragnar. Completely, 100%. It's very. We've got all kinds of authors, people just starting out, people who've had books published, and everything in between. People who've just had their first book published. So you are more than welcome. Like I say, there's QR code up the top there if you want to check it out. So we welcome all writers, and it's always great to get new writers as well, because they've got such a enthusiasm and passion and energy to learn as well. So yeah, all are definitely welcome there.
Their souls have yet to be deadened by the industry.
Yeah. But that's the thing, I do want it to be a very positive space. I don't want it to be somewhere where we all whinge and moan, because that is just, you get two authors together, within 5 minutes they're either moaning about their agent or their publisher or just the general public. So it is, you go to a green room. This is why I called it the green room, a thing like a Comic-Con or a EasterCon or something like that. They're just brilliant. I mean, the one for that, Christopher Priest, I was lucky enough to meet Christopher Priest a few times, but my God, he could moan. He was absolutely. He was hilarious while he was doing it, but my God, it was so funny. So yeah, positive space, Ragnar. You're going to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. Brilliant. Thank you. Any more questions then? Rachel Chapman, how many notebooks did you get through book 1 and book 2? So is that one for me or for Michael? Michael, do you use notebooks?
I did, although I think it's probably more for you, Mark, because you write in notebooks. Now, I find that absolutely fascinating. You write freehand, right? You don't.
Yeah. Pass me that in. Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm working on at the moment. Lovely big, notebook there. There we go. Lots and lots of handwritten pages, and I will, it's just the way my mind works is I'll scribble, and sometimes I will literally just write, what the hell happens next? How do we get out of this? What are they thinking? What happened? Where did we leave them last time? And it just gets the motion going, and then I'll sit up and type what I've written. So it's but notebooks for actually the End of Magic I didn't do on notebooks, but the Dragons I got through at least 2 notebooks.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a 2 notebook novel. Same with Gods as well. Usually about 2 notebooks.
Did you notice yourself using less paper, seriously, using less, you needed to review stuff less as you got through the series?
No, I don't know. It's I've never really thought of it like that. I just because a lot of it is waffle. A lot of it is seriously me going, what do I do here? What do I do? And how does that? And like when you have a bit of world building, I will stop and go, how do they do that? How do they do this thing in this world that we, and then I can just freehand and scrub things out and make notes in the margin and stuff like that. And then what I type up feels like the finished article. So yeah. But that's another long notebook there, and that I might only need one for this one, because this one's only going to be about 75,000 words, I think. So
it's about 75Ks of how many you get in. Is that the max that you would get in with your handwriting size?
Possibly, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot more. I remember I first met Robert Rankin at an event that I did, and he uses old school textbooks, like old school notebooks, and when he's jotters, when he's done 8 of those, he knows he has a novel.
Wow!
So that was that was a fun one. So yeah,
it's like George R. R. Martin uses like an old DOS machine, like a green sort of. And it's because he hates the predictive text and spell check and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you can turn it off, George.
All the time, actually, when I'm writing, and it changes a word. Because when you're writing fantasy words, you get to the end of the novel, it still finds 100 spelling mistakes because you've added apostrophes in the middle of everything. So
I turn it off because it distracts me. It slows me down. But yeah, George, you can turn it off, George. Don't let that be an excuse for not finishing anything. Pull your finger out, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, any more questions then?
One more.
One more. Excellent. Ragnar, how, though, do you know when to stop a book before the next story? When did you know it was going to be a trilogy? That's a great question. So if you're doing a trilogy, how do you know when you've done book 1, book 2? Where are those break points? What are the pivot points for those parts of a trilogy?
This makes me think about J.K. Rowling a lot, because I have a theory that she didn't know about Horcruxes until she got to sort of the end of book 2/3-ish. And that for me is that must be maybe a third, just over a third or 2/5 of the way through that series. And that's actually fairly close, I think. I think anyone writer that says they know exactly how it's all going to go and how it's all going to end,
yeah,
Discovery.
It's cobblers. And I know it's cobblers because I know some of these authors. So it's I think she's probably the one to blame because it became part of the mythology. Oh, I know how what the final sentence is. That's fine knowing what the final sentence is, but it's not. It's not like they got. And I think a lot of authors starting out think, oh, I've got to have the whole thing mapped out, or I'm not a proper writer. Absolute twaddle. Most writers, even those who plot in advance, are kind of winging it. I mean, I pants it, but essentially what I'm doing is a very, 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 very long and detailed outline. That's essentially what that first draft is. So the idea that you've got to have all this planned out, is. Back to Ragnar's question, which is, if you're working in a trilogy, are you thinking in those kind of 3 acts? Is book 1 the opening act, book 2 the rising action, book 3 the conclusion, that kind of thing? Or?
That's a totally great excuse to talk about Craig Mazin, because you had him. Love that guy so much,
brilliant,
so cool. And when I loved him, and then I realized he was he was the writer on the Last of Us TV show, and I melted into a puddle. This guy is so good and so clever. And yeah, there was another book I read as well called Into the Woods by John York.
John York, yeah.
And that was fantastic. Talking about the 3 acts and basically the structure of scenes and all that sort of stuff. How everything is sort of fractal patterns of scenes inside a bigger piece that goes up, and it's all built on this premise of 3 or 5 acts. And it comes down, if John York explores why that is in the human psyche, why do we have this idea of the denouement and the big ending and the drop and then the pickup, and it's fascinating. It's a fascinating read. But yeah, it does sort of dictate how you tend to write. And I will quite happily say that. I mean, like I said earlier, I literally figured out exactly what the end's going to be. I knew there's a lot of stuff that was going to happen, but there was a really strong main thread that I'd sort of left as a treat for myself. I didn't want to kind of prod it too much. I wanted it to sort of organically happen. And because I was working a lot on marketing and all of that other stuff, there was less headspace available to really kind of let it simmer. But as I say, just one trip to the bathroom, that was enough to literally draw it out of me. And it was just so cool and so poetic and so lovely that I probably should stop talking about it. But very happy with the way that it's going. And that was one of the endings, I guess, for one of the character arcs. There were some endings that I've known from the beginning. Some things, there was one scene actually, one particular part of book 2, which I've known I wanted to write since I started book 1. And I finally got to it when I was sequentially moving through the chapters, which is something I didn't do for book 1. For book 2, I wrote very sequentially. When I got to that chapter, I was really excited to actually write it. It's sort of inspired by a part of the Wheel of Time called Hinderstap, which is about these bubbles of evil that rise up in the Wheel of Time and cause havoc, very specific situational havoc. It's a perfect excuse for Robert Jordan to go off on a side quest for sort of 300 or 400 pages and talk about that bubble of evil and how the characters dealt with it and grew from it and so on and so forth. Well, the particular scene itself stuck with me, and I was really excited to write my own version of it, I guess. And it's called Minerva in book 2. So these sort of things, like there's some things, as you say, that they're just really strong things in your head that you know that you're going to write.
Yeah.
And then there's other things that they'll come to you. It's a very organic process. It's very hard to
Absolutely
quantify.
So Ragnar, in short, don't get too hung up on these things. The only structure you need to worry about is beginning, middle, and end. Seriously, all the other stuff you see, people talk about, save the cat, or it's a pyramid, or it's a trapezoid, or it's shaped like a Christmas tree. If someone's talking about shapes, they're usually selling you a course. Okay, so don't worry about that. Just make sure it has a beginning, middle, and end. Everything is that 3 acts, macro, micro. Every chapter has a beginning, middle, and an end. Every sequence, a beginning, middle, and end. Every book, beginning, middle, and end. It kind of finds its own shape because it's all about theme. And what we were talking about earlier with Craig Mazin, I'll put a link in the show notes. Craig Mazin did a talk called How to Write a Movie. It's about 45 minutes long. It's essentially talking about the central dramatic argument, theme, how that can be applied to story. Basically, it's Aristotle. When I heard it, I thought, oh, that's like someone's opened a door. Everything was so clear to me after that. And if you join the green room, Ragnar, ask anyone in the green room. I bang on about the central dramatic argument and Aristotle at least once every session. So, because it is the thing that will totally blow your mind. So, I hope that answers your question, or at least gives you enough. So, okay, let's move on. Cracky, been going over an hour. Michael, what's bringing you joy at the moment?
Lots of things. I've Rubik's Cube, just kind of like.
Are you going to do it live?
No, because I won't be able to, because I'm too stressed if I get it wrong. I'll just talk about it. I'm doing it like I can't do it with my eyes closed, but I find it very fidgety and very good to just especially in meetings and things,
Right. So it's the original fidget spinner, isn't it? Really?
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
So that's that. Is that what you're doing? And you can solve it. You can solve the Rubik's Cube.
I've got. Let me.
Oh, he's gone. Where's he gone?
This is my sonic screwdriver for obvious reasons. This is a 9x9.
Wow, that's a big boy.
Yeah, it's. I've, as I say, obsessive. I started doing it, and I was like, I'm going to do that one. And I think all fantasy writers at some point are a little bit broken inside.
I think writers full stop.
Generally speaking,
yeah. I think you probably break writers and Rubik's Cubes into 3 groups. There are the ones who can take the time to solve them. There are the ones who just move the stickers around, and there are the ones who just bash them up and into small pieces. And I was the latter group. Yes, so Rubik's Cubes and Modern Family.
Love this show so much. It's just brings me so much happiness. Although it was interesting, I was making the kids dinner again. It was a very philosophical dinner. The sprawling character set, they've all got there's so much scope for stories. Like when you've got a big character set like this, and it made me wonder actually if that's one of the reasons I really like it, because it does jumps around, and I've got quite a big cast in book 1.
Yeah,
not so in book 2, but book 1 is pretty broad. So maybe there's a link there. But yeah, I love Modern Family. We watch it we're on our 4th watch through or something. Highly recommend.
Brilliant. No, I love it. It's a great show. Really, really good show. And you're a drummer as well. You mentioned the band Carnival. Tell us about your drumming and this music.
Well, I went to see Carnival on Friday last week, and it was the first night I've had in ages. And we went to a metal bar afterwards, and I just felt like it just completely unwound. It was fantastic. I was out till about 3 a.m, just having the best time ever, which is something I don't get often a chance to do. Surrounded by metal music and great people. It was fantastic. These guys are wonderful. absolutely incredible. Definitely check them out if you like kind of proggy rock and metal stuff. Like I played to them quite a lot.
Sold. Excellent. And on the books front, This Is How You Lose the Time War.
Yes, this was the last book I read. I feel a bit conflicted about it though. So I don't want to speak down about it, because I think one person will love it, one person will find it difficult. The prose was absolutely out of this world. It was so beautiful and poetic. But I think my expectations going in were that I was going to get a time machine story, and
Right.
and I was a little disappointed that it took me so long to get there. But it is such a good book as an endeavor, as a creative endeavor. It's just like, it's just, I can really fully appreciate the angles to it. It's wonderful. They've done such a good job.
Brilliant. Brilliant. All right, we'll quickly skip through what's bringing me joy at the moment. Widow's Bay on Apple TV is just the best thing on telly at the moment. It's like a little bit of Stephen King. It's a little bit of Jaws. It's a little bit of The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog. And it's so funny as well. It's Katie Dippold is the showrunner. She used to work on Parks and Rec. It is just brilliant. Episode 3, I think, or 3 or 4, with a character called Patricia, is just one of the best things I've seen on TV this year, and it's been a very good year for TV. Just superb. Highly, 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 highly recommended. I'm also reading, now I've been putting this off for a long time, so that's Joe Hill's King's Sorrow. Past that, oh God, talk about big books. Look at this chunky boy. And I know Joe a bit because I used to work for his publisher, and I remember him first talking about this, and I was talking to his editor. I said, does it really need to be that long? And he was like, no, it does. I said, really, does it? And this is a signed edition. We got it from Seven Oaks Bookshop. And I don't want to touch it. And so the ebook was on offer at a daily deal for 99p. So boom, I got that. So I'm now reading it, because I read fiction generally at about 5:30 in the morning on my phone, just because there's no distractions. And it's so good. Really? It is so good, and it does need to be this long, and I think it's his masterpiece. So I haven't finished it yet, but I'm flying through it and loving every minute of it. It's absolutely brilliant.
Noted.
Absolutely brilliant. And the other thing that's bringing me joy is that film What I Wrote, Unwelcome, is on Netflix UK. Took its blooming time to get there, and it got to number 3 in the film chart. We didn't stay there for very long, but we were there, number 3 in the film chart. That made me very, very happy. What's great is people are finally getting to see it, and then bringing me up on the ending. People go, the ending's very strange. Yes, it was meant to be strange. So yes. Rachel says, my mum loved it. Well, frankly, Rachel, that is the only critique I need. Thank you, Rachel. I'm delighted that she loved it. Thank you for letting me know. Comic-Cons, I'm going to be...
I saw a clip of it, Mark, where because you had a cameo in it, right?
Well, I can't help myself. This is the only way I can get acting work, is to write films and then give myself a cameo in them. It's the only way I can get past the casting directors. But yeah, and they put me in the trailer. It's like Warner Brothers UK said, what's going to get bums on seats? That pasty face guy. Let's put him in front and center.
Let's get him on the telly. Let's get him on the cinema screen. Honestly, when I saw it, I was just like, because your wife was in it as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, and Emily and George, the whole family affair, yeah.
Oh, but you were just so good. Like, honestly, it was like Legal Gentlemen when they're in the pub and they're just like, you're not there.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and it was like, it was so funny. I still haven't watched it yet. I will absolutely watch it. It's on Netflix, right?
And Netflix, yes. I had no idea how long for, but it's there now, and it's great. It's brilliant. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Creative Differences. You're going to find all the links we discussed and show notes in the episode on the episode's webpage at marksdaykreativedifferences.com. A huge thanks to Emily for your production assistance today, Em. Thank you very much for that. To Emily and Kai for the edit, and Dominic Currie for the jingle. And thanks, of course, to my special guest, Michael S. Jackson. Thank you so much for joining us. And everyone who's joined us live tonight. Now, if you're listening to the audio podcast or rewatching this on Facebook or YouTube, thank you very much. But we really missed you. So you're more than welcome to join us next month. Speaking of which, next month's special guest, he's been with us tonight. is the one, the only Elwood Flynn. And look, if you can't see the author photo, you look at those knees. Look at those knees. Join us live. It's 22nd of June. 8 p.m. British summertime. And talking about, you've got badges and things. Elwood has got mugs. He's written a Western, and it's a Western called Hot Lead, which is great because I finally get to use the spaghetti Western jingle that Dom did for me. I've been waiting for that to happen. So join us next time. We're going to talk Westerns and bloody retribution. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, things like ratings, reviews, likes, shares, all help massively with those algorithms. But more importantly, if you, yes you, listen to this now, look, if you can just tell one person about this podcast, it's going to make the biggest difference. Word of mouth is the best marketing there is. But until next time, happy writing, reading, and being different. Okay, goodbye everyone. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.